So I think that the rec customer, I feel like is more you have to like really um, deploy traditional business, good business to kind of like lock in rec customers. I feel like with the traditional market, people are more worried about hype. I don't think hype really matters in the rec market. That's beautiful because then it like levels the playing field down to like what's really quality, what's the right price points. You have to talk to people differently in the rec market. I mean, in the rec market, people don't want weed that tests lower than 25%. So as we're
I
selecting,
think that's changing, but we'll see.
so
By the
as
way,
we're
Ted
selecting,
they launched one that was 23, so their minimum's 25.
yeah, you
and
see
we're
what
selling
I'm
the
saying?
fuck out of
And
it
so
right
like
now. Yeah.
like shout out to Catalyst for, I mean, because I have stores that won't even take it, even if it's my top seller and it's like 22.6, and they're like, yeah, we can't even take it. So like Honeydew is an example, and that's one of my top sellers right now. But it's like, with that being said, when it's up to us as to move forward though. It's like, because normally I can almost, I mean, I don't really have too much of a, like if that was a reoccurring issue where most everything that we had was testing lower, then it would be like, okay, the customer needs to understand that these strains that they like the taste of just don't test those numbers. But the fact is that normally there's a phenotype in the mix that we can select, or most of the shit that we're working with, I mean, just genetically speaking as well, is yielding varieties that are testing over 25%. So it's not like a crazy bar to hit. You get what I'm saying? Like almost everything, like I just tested almost every test I do, and I actually work with a good lab. I work with a lab. It's funny that I work with a lab that finds microbial issues and stuff like that, because, and people are like, oh, maybe if they're always, failing some of your batches and shit, some of your batches fail from them, why you still work with them? It's like, because I want to actually know these things. I want to put out product that I know is safe. So I'm going to work with the most stringent labs that actually are coming up with the right numbers, the shit you talk about. Like, I don't want to, I'm sure that I could find other labs that put everything at 25% and shit like that. But it's like, I'd rather really know the real numbers, select the right genetics that will give people the numbers that they want and still have the flavors that they want. I believe it can genetically be done. So it just makes the bar set higher on people like my boy Rusty and I that are doing the genetic development. It just makes it to where it's like, now we got to make shit that actually tests like that. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I hope they get away. I wish
You know
they
what I
would
mean?
even test. I
But
think
then-
they're clamping, so it's going to change. And then just my understanding, I'm not an expert in it, but just from kind of asking around, like a strain is going to test between whatever. Like some strains test between 18 and 21. That's the best you can do with the strain. And if you grow good, it's 21. If you don't, it's 18. Some strains test 22 to 25, right? Most strains are testing in there indoor. And there's never been any correlation that's been made between Emerald Cup winners or whatever judge you want to say and THC. And I think the customers are starting to learn, and I think the numbers are coming down too because the DCC's
Right.
clamping a little
I
bit.
think everything 25 is like that's a good average though. Like, I mean, even back when we used to, before all these new school labs and shit, back when we used to test shit, it was like everything was like 23, 24. If you got 25, you were hitting hard. Like some OGs were 25, 26.
That's still what it is.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think genetically we've pushed the bar up a couple percentages, but as far as all that 30% shit, I mean, I don't know, man. I still have the same lab test. It also has a lot of variables of when things are tested. The variable that the customers in the rec market don't understand, and that's stuff that we need to do more education on. But it just takes time. It's a new industry. Is the whole like variables of the other cannabinoids and the terpene combination that creates what is the entourage effect. Is like, entourage effect is what you really feel when you smoke. You can smoke a low THC strain that busts your head and makes you feel a certain way, and this might be just because of the terpene combo with the other cannabinoids and CBN, CBD, and all this kind of shit together. So, that's another thing. But another thing to understand with the rec market customers that I'm starting to get to is that we work with mostly all the genetics we work with are hybrids. We don't have any true indicas or sativas anymore. Everything's hybrid. They do have indica dominant and sativa dominant hybrids. So if we're just talking about as far as, yes, everything's a hybrid, if we're going to go in the direction of indica leaning, sativa leaning, I've never personally classified my strains before because in the traditional market and just in the medical market, it was different. I had a delivery service back then. So in the medical market, we weren't really as much of a brand as we are nowadays. We've evolved to having a brand. So I've never really had to classify my strains until I made the transition into the Prop 215 market, to where it's like, okay, like, this is, and then it's like, I'm kind of like going off of what I know to be, it's not like we have genetic testing. I mean, I'm looking at like this indica sativa testing. I'm looking at the leaf structure. I'm going off of the effects as I know. I'm looking at the growth stretch.
What's your take on that? You think the indica
So
sativa
I think
thing is
indica
mostly
and sativa
bullshit?
thing is not. I think what we have it perceived as in the rec market, and then we're speaking on the rec market consumers. I think what they know as indica and sativa is just like is maybe not necessarily. It just is the whole broad perspective of what indica sativa means. I think that it's like, it may be something that might encompass that too, but like, for instance, I guess what I'm saying is the whole effect thing. I don't really necessarily, and just with the growers and the breeders that I've worked with, when we speak of indica and sativa plants, they're speaking on growth structure and the leaf, the stretch of the plant, the indicas being more short and bushy, and the sativas being tall and stretchy, more long-winded strains. Flowering times are a little longer. The leaves are real skinny. The indicas having the fat and broad leaves. You understand what I mean? So
your interpretation is that it's really more how the plant grows.
Grows,
not that
100%.
indica takes you down a notch.
Not
and
the effects. That's what I understand.
Right.
And I also understand this to be that, like, when we see certain different selections, when we're doing these pheno selections, we'll see plants that sometimes the plant's a little stretches a little bit more and has like thinner leaves and I'll be like, okay, that's more of a sativa dominant hybrid, like of this same variety, where you may in the same variety, same seed stock, have one that's a little bit shorter and stockier that might grow with the fatter leaf structure, and then therefore could be more of an indica dominant hybrid in the same seed stock, in the same strain. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think it's phenotype specific, but in terms of the rec market, you have to speak to these people that's how they, that's the language of effect to them. And that's just how the standard is. So we have to kind of like learn how to.
Do you think there's a correlation between
I
the
think
plants
there is
that
some
look
effects.
like
So
they're
now with
red?
that being said, like, I believe there is sativa and indica effects. I believe that, like, and these are where I'm not an expert. One of my my favorite strains that I like to smoke is Gelinade. When I go into the grow rooms and I look at the way Gelinade's growing, I mean, it doesn't grow like a sativa. It still has very, tight structure, and it looks like a Gelato 41 the way it's growing, and so it's definitely a hybrid, but it gives me this certain head effect. Now we're speaking on effect, so I don't personally know if that effect comes from the CBD THC combination with the terps, whether it's just like the entourage effect, like we said earlier, like if it's the the fucking limonene or the myrcene or some one of the terpenes that I'm like feeling that little headband that I feel, or if it's because it's a sativa dominant strain. So I don't know that. So for me to be like, yeah, you feel that way because it's a sativa, I would be lying because I don't know that. But I do feel like that may be what it is. You get what I'm saying? So it's like, these are things where it's like, I don't feel like the expertise levels is a lot of it. It's just not there yet. So it's like, we have to speak on what we understand as, this is still, it's like culinary technique. People like Escoffier are the ones that set the standards and wrote the book. You know what I'm saying? And that's where we're at now. It's like with Ted, guys like Ted. That's why I fuck with Ted so tough, is because like they're like, okay, why is the weed not burning clean? I don't know. Let's get this fucking machine that burns, that'll smoke a joint and analyze the smoke. You know what I mean? And that's the kind
I was going to ask you that. How do you? Let me just
Did you
ask
see that
yeah,
shit though?
Yeah, let me ask you a fun one first. Who's a better tastemaker? And I'll just fuck with you. You or Ted?
So, all right, I'm gonna say this, man. Ted doesn't want to smoke with me, man. No. So Ted, I'll be real with you. Ted understands the game. He's my superior for sure. He understands the game on a level way deeper than me. I call him when I need help and shit like that. He's been in the scene longer than me. His brand was around longer than me. He understands rosin and all that kind of shit a lot better than me. I feel like as a flower smoker, we know undisputed I smoke a lot more flower than him. He'll tell you that too. So I think he trusts my opinion on the flower too. So I'm not gonna say I'm a better tastemaker, but I think when it comes to flower, there's certain things that, he smokes flower. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this guy doesn't smoke weed, but it's like he'll come to me and be like, yo, you smoke a lot. Like he respects the level of consumption that I'm coming with.